afternoon, everybody, and welcome in on a Football Friday on the Maize and Blue Review. Do not adjust your dial or your screen. You might think, oh, my goodness, it's a Wednesday. It's a Monday. No, it's not. It is a Friday, Football Friday number 2, and we are joined by former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli, who is on the screen. And Scar, we also have a special guest on this Friday, don't we?
Danny, it's a great day. It is a great day here in Michigan. We got our Michigan Wolverines looking great. We got our Detroit Lions with a huge win on the road. But the highlight of the day might be the guy that I get a chance to introduce real quick, one of my former teammates, great friend, out of Youngstown, Ohio, cradle of coaches, played for Cardinal Mooney, great player there, linebacker, tight end. Guy played everywhere. Played for a great program. You'll hear some of his stories because he's going to be a guy that'll be on with us. Played with the Stoops brothers, knows Bo Pelini, played with some real good guys that went on to be great coaches, highly recruited guy, came to Michigan, wanted to play for Schembechler, really good offensive guard, played on 2 Big Ten championships teams. So he's got one more ring than me, and he always lets me know about it. But then had a great career at Michigan, went on, played some ball with the Detroit Lions for a minute, played in Italy for a little bit. Those are stories he might get into later on with you. But then, like all of us washed up old players, eventually we go into coaching. So he was a long-time coach, successful high school coach. And, he and I talk all the time, Denny, football. And I hear him, his mind and his vision. He sees things. I think our viewers and listeners are really going to like Jerry's intellect offensively, how he's, especially line play. He really gets it. He understands it. He played it. He coached it. So I'm just fired up to have my good buddy with us, Jerry Diorio.
Scar, thank you very much for that. That was a great introduction. Too kind, because you're not too kind to me usually, but that's good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that, let's get to some football here on a Football Friday. We will talk about the game certainly tomorrow. Michigan bringing in UNLV week 2 in the 3:30 game at the Big House. We'll ask the guys what they would identify as goals for the game. College football week 2. We'll put the slate from the beginning to end up there and anything that jumps out to the panel about things that they want to say. But I don't often do this, but, I say 98% of the time we talk about the Lions or we talk about Michigan, but 2% of the time we talk about something else. And, the NFL kicked off last night in Kansas City, and the Lions beat the Chiefs 21-20. And guys, Aiden Hutchinson, he was amazing, played 60 of the 66 defensive snaps. Here's the numbers on him: 7 pressures, 3 quarterback hits, couple hurries in the victory last night. He had one play I think maybe I'll remember forever, especially if they have a banner season. He had a double spin and went after it and hurried Patrick Mahomes. A fabulous win for the Lions. Scar, what did you think of the performance by the Cats last night out in KC?
It was awesome. I mean, our coach is, he's an unpredictable guy. Big coach Dan, and it was great to see Aiden continue to get better, and Michael Dana out there too. The former Chip that came to Michigan for 1 year. But I thought Hutch was the most dominant player for the Michigan defense. Obviously the big play was a deflection and the pick 6, but Hutchinson was a factor. They lined him up with a 3 technique, and I was just happy for him. He definitely showing the number 2 pick was legit. Lions are rolling. Michigan guys were representing. Jerry, your thoughts?
Outstanding job by Hutchinson last night. I had the misfortune of playing against them when I was at Benton Harbor 1 year. And I remember watching film. We're trying to fill our schedule for the next year. And Elliot Uselak, a great friend of mine, said, hey, look, we can take this Divine Child team on. I mean, they only got the number 1 and number 4 recruits in the state. And so I got to watch this kid, and I'm watching him. And I don't know who he is. And I'm just thinking to myself, please don't. And I'm a defensive coordinator. I'm saying, please don't put him at tight end. Well, sure enough, they changed his number to number 8, and they beat us up pretty good. he was dominant. And if you look at the first play, I think it was, they had 3 guys hitting them. So they knew going into the game, they were going to have some pressure from this young man, and they were going to have to take care of it. But if you look at the game, their offensive tackle was cheating all night long. His helmet was way behind the center's hip where it's supposed to be. He was off the ball quick, and Hutchinson still put pressure on Mahomes all night long and just disrupted that whole offense all night long.
Yeah, Jerry, let me ask you. I look like an illegal formation to me. I thought that should have been flagged. Now, it looked like some false starts in there a couple times. You could see that with the naked eye. A lot of holding calls as well on the Kansas City Chiefs, and a lot of them against Hutchinson, trying not to be just like some Lions homer. But, man, illegal formations, false start, holding calls. I mean, there was a pass interference call late in that game. It was a huge play that I thought that was going to end up burning them. Obviously, it didn't. But what about some of those other calls? I guess it was the first game for the officials, too.
I'm not saying anything against the officiating at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I'm not sure the tackle's name. He came from Carolina last year. But he was taking every ounce of what the referees were going to give him. And so that's not his fault. It's not – the refs let him get away with it because they felt he was within reach of the legal positioning. You look at some wing tee teams in the state of Michigan in high school. Their heads are right on the hip, and that's by design. That is by design to give angles. And that right tackle was taking every opportunity, everything in the book to utilize that strength.
Scar, the Lions going to the Super Bowl. What do you think?
Hey man, they got players, they got talent, they got players. We get that receiver back. A lot of good things though going on out there for that team, man. We got unpredictable coaches and we got talented guys. Stay healthy. You'd like to see our quarterback be able to move around a little bit, avoid some pressure. But, hey, one game at a time. The division is not great. Aaron Rodgers is in another division. Anything can happen, Denny.
Yeah, I think it's really promising. That's a game that in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years that the Lions lose almost every time. Mahomes, great quarterback with the ball under 3 minutes and some timeouts. Usually they would go right down the field and beat them. That didn't happen. They didn't play their best game and won the game. That's pretty promising as well. And Scar, you've mentioned it twice now, not specifically, but you've mentioned it. The Lions last year, when they won all those games in the back half of their schedule, the team was out of it. And teams that are out of it, they can play really loosey-goosey. And, Dan Campbell has tried all this crazy stuff, throwing to the tight end. And I wondered if it was going to be like when they were out of it last year, that he was going to be this gambler and that he was going to try this stuff, that this is going to be part of their identity. And sure enough, that he goes for it or fake punts on his own 18. That's a hell of a risk, but it worked. And that's part of the Lions' identity under Dan Campbell. They're going to be very unpredictable. So that's my final word on it. You guys got a final word on him?
I'll just say it. Jerry, you can comment after me. But, hey, in football, that's an advantage you have as a coach, both sides of the ball. You don't want to be predictable. As an offensive caller or as a defensive guy, you don't want them to know what you're doing. We play poker. It's the same thing, man. You don't want them to know every time what you're going to do with ace-king. Maybe you mix it up. So it's the same thing. Let's have some deception. Let's not be predictable. And Dan Campbell takes it to another level.
I think the last two drafts by the Lions have been phenomenal. And that move to move Stratford out to L.A., I think was good both ways. And it kind of reminds me of the old Herschel Walker trade back when Dallas did that and built their team up. And it kind of looks the same way. And I think that goes back 1-8, and they're older, go 2-14. Well, this was a young team. They're looking to get better, and they end up 9-8 last year. They end up 9-8 last year. This is a good football team, and they're going to be division champs, in my opinion, and I think they will go deep in the playoffs.
Whoa, man. I don't know if I can take it, but I'm going to go with it. Let's move on to the game tomorrow. UNLV comes in, the running Rebs. Last week, Michigan was like right here, 36-point, now 37-point favorite, and it's military appreciation. And Scar and I talked about it on Monday. If there's some guys, you have the ability, even with a Bowling Green team next week, where if there's some guys that are a little nicked up, maybe you do just say, hey, you rest them. And then you also have this rotation with the Michigan method. Just your overall thoughts here. Jerry, let's start with you. We haven't talked with you about, Michigan's prospects for this year. Everyone seems to be very high on the Wolverines. What did you see in game one, and what are you thinking about tomorrow?
Well, first of all, I love the fact that we're having a military appreciation day. I loved our vets. I appreciate our vets, our military. God bless them. And I'm real happy to see Michigan doing that in the game. Number one. Number two, I want to see our goal line offense be more productive. I think it was a real problem last year. And I think we need to fix some things on the goal line. I mean, there were so many good things that come out of last week. But if there's one thing that I'm very concerned with is our goal line offense. And we have to address that. If we're going to make a run for a national championship, which I believe this team has every opportunity to do, we have to address our red zone and goal line offense.
What do you want them to do? Like they went to a hurry up on the one that they fumbled, and they did that last year on some short yardage situations, not even on the goal line. They would go for it on like a 3rd and 4, and they'd come up a little bit short, and then they went quick, to try to keep the defense, obviously, get them off balance a little bit. What do you think are some of the recipe for success when you're struggling either on the red zone or just in short yardage situations?
A wise coach once told me, you better have a play that's going to get you a yard no matter everybody knows in the stadium. And I don't know if I'm not sold that we have that play yet. I mean, when we start off 1st and goal on the 2-yard line or 2nd and goal on the 2-yard line and we can't punch it in, that's very concerning with that big offensive line. I think there were things out there that I saw that could do us justice. But that's the biggest issue, in my opinion. We if you want to get tricky, that's all well and good, but I think you better solidify your base first.
Jerry, you got to tell us who that wise coach was.
Actually, it was Jim Tressel.
Oh, no kidding.
No kidding. Yeah.
Well, he's that's a heck of a coach there.
He said, you better have one play where everybody in the stands knows what's coming, and you can get that 1 yard. And if you don't have that play, you're in trouble.
That's right. I totally agree. Hey, Danny, let me tell you my thing. Let's get the second quarterback solidified. Let's find out who it is. Hopefully we come out of this thing real confident. If it's going to be Tuttle, the upside of Tuttle is we got a guy who's played in the Big Ten. If something happens to JJ and we're at Nebraska or we're at Michigan State, we got a guy who's been in that environment. So that's the upside of Tuttle. I don't know if it's going to be him. Hopefully he plays great. Okay. The upside of Davis Warren, if that's what this is down to, if he's the backup guy, then the reps that he gets there this year will help us next year. So the future is benefited if he's the guy. So, Jerry, you and I both face those kind of decisions all the time. Do you go with the senior? Do you go with the young guy? And there's advantages, strengths, and weaknesses of both of them. But I want to see the QB situation solidified. I want to see tight ends block. I want to see tight ends other than 89 that can block, other than 53 that can block. I want to see 18 come down and block a 5 technique. That's what I want to see. I want to see tight ends that can block. Okay. I want to see who our fourth. I think we know who our 3 linebackers. I want to know who the 4th linebacker is. I am totally confident with our 5 interior guys rotating. We can beat Michigan State and Ohio State with those 5 guys. Our edge guys, we can beat them with our edge guys. I already know that. I want to see who our 4th linebacker is. So, that's that's what I want to find out. And obviously, though, Danny, the big thing is win the game. Okay, come out healthy and play 100 guys. So those are the big 3 goals. Win the game, come out healthy. Let's play another 100 guys. Because Jerry, Jerry, you know how important it is to get, even if it's a few reps as a young player,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on the quarterback situation. I was at practice a couple weeks ago, and I was fortunate enough to be at practice. And let me tell you something. Michigan practices They're intense and they're at the top of the list. And there is a lot of talent there at the quarterback spot, at the line, on the offensive line, on the defensive side of the ball. There's a lot of talent there. And I remember back when Bear Bryant was at Alabama, he used to go with his offensive line for a couple series and bring in his second offensive line and not lose a beat. And I think that's a lot of what Michigan has this year. They're so talented, so deep that going into their depth chart, especially these first three games, I think is a great idea.
We are going to answer some questions from the people. We always invite the folks out there, if they have a point, they've got a question about where Michigan is at right now here on the eve of taking on the Running Rebels, fire away. I also encourage anybody out there that wants more Michigan coverage up to the second to join the Maize and Blue Review today by going to michigan.rivals.com. Recruiting, transfer portal, the latest in what's going on game day, like on game day eve. It's all there. Again, the Maize and Blue Review. Go to michigan.rivals.com. As far as me, like you're basing everything on being a championship team. I think about that impressive offensive line. Get down there, that Corum after he had the big run and they punched it in from the 1 or 2 yard line. That's what we're talking about. They blew him off on the line. I think I could have run that one in. Scar mentioned some specifics in the 2 deep, but I think keep rolling with that. I don't care if they really have defensive sacks and TFLs. If they're playing fast and they have good tackling and we get some clean special teams, let's go. Of course, you always say things like secure the victory, get the win, guardians of the victory, I think is what Jay Harbaugh, said that his dad entrusted him to do. And then the other thing is, stay relatively healthy. I know those things go without saying, but I'm going to say them anyways here. And if you guys are ready, we'll fire some questions your way because I see some of them coming in. Mark was going back to your thing about one play. He said, everybody wants that play. Come on. Well, look, you would like to be able to, if you can't get a yard, there's a, saying in football, then you don't deserve to win. So always it's coming down to in big game. You want to be big on third down. So you need to be able to punch it in from one, whatever that play is going to be. But I'll just, go back to you, Jerry. Last night I'm watching the Chiefs. They did a lot of end arounds. Nobody does more down on the goal line with shuffle passes, reverses, end arounds. They're the Super Bowl champs, and they've got Patrick Mahomes. They try everything down there on the goal line. Michigan tried some of that last year. It looked like they took a page out of the Chiefs' book. I love the 2 plays they ran in the Super Bowl that were down there on the goal line that they were able to get in a touchdown. So I don't know, some of those bread and butter plays again. Is it the offensive line? McCarthy's not running it in. They could do a lot of things with some of the backup quarterbacks if they wanted to do some short yardage things. But, yeah, everybody wants that one play, Jerry.
Well, I mean, like I said, when you're in coaching, you got to have a play that you can go to and get a yard and get that yard that you need so desperately to get out of there with the win. And I knew as a head football coach, I prided myself on being able to get that 1 yard. And barring a turnover or something like that, I'm running belly. I'm wedging and kicking out and running belly. And I'm going to get that 1 yard. Or I'm going to follow with the quarterback. And I'm going to get that 1 yard. But that is designed in my offense from day one. It's part of our short yardage, which is where your money's going to really be made. It's part of your short yardage package. And you've got to have a package to go to in those times.
Well, they got 2 NFL prospects at guards in Zinter and Keegan, and it looks like the transfer from Stanford is the real deal. Blake Corum, is he the guy to get you that 1 yard?
I think Blake Corum is definitely the guy that's going to get you 1 yard. I think Edwards can. I think Edwards can, and I think JJ can get is very good at running the ball. And so they've got weapons back there. Just got to see something more consistent.
McCarthy did it against OSU, which was good. Scar, what about Orgy coming in and showing off some short yardage stuff?
Yeah, we didn't see it game one. We saw it last year. We saw it in the spring. You know how he's the athlete that he is. Maybe they're saving some things. I don't know, but you know, maybe we'll see him. Maybe we'll see him Saturday. You know, but yeah, Jared, I would think Jim Harbaugh. He built San Diego. He built Stanford. He built the 49ers and the power play. You know what that is. We block down with our tight ends. We pull the backside guard. We kick out with the full. That play is number one that he puts in on day one.
Absolutely.
And you know, and that would be his play. Absolutely. That we want to be able to run at Michigan. And that's why I started out with tight ends that can block.
Absolutely.
You know, so, you know, hopefully we can continue to get better with our tight ends.
Absolutely. And I think, and Coach Harbaugh's got that play. He's got that system in there. We just got to figure, you know, we got to produce. We've got to produce on the goal line. We can't leave the ball on the ground on the 1 yard line.
Let's go to some quick hitters for you guys. Mark, wondering if Davis Warren was really the number 2. He played number 2 last week, or is it going to be the Michigan model with the chance of seeing Jack Tuttle in there as QB2? Scar, go ahead. What do you think? You've talked about these backup.
Listen,
QBs.
if you're evaluating, listen, we saw what Warren did, okay? But you know what? Guess that was the first time he was in a really early pressured situation. So you got to take that into consideration when you're evaluating what he did. Tuttle will get in there. You know, he's been in situations a little, you know, hell of a lot more. So the coach has to take that into mind when he's trying to make this decision. But they've indicated that. We've seen it in the press that the second team backup quarterback is up for grabs, and Jim's going to battle it out with these 2 guys. So, yeah, but you got to take, you know, weigh what the fact that Davis Warren hasn't had as many pressure reps. You know, Jared, what are your thoughts?
I agree with you as far as going with the with more reps at the second quarterback. And like I said, I was at practice a couple weeks ago, and I saw a lot of talented quarterbacks in that lineup. I think there's a lot of depth there. We just got to get them on the field and get them in front of, like you say, 110,000 people so they know what it feels like.
All right, we do have a few other questions, so let's run through a couple of these. Yes, I did. I broke out. You know, when I didn't know. I knew Jerry, you know, played with Scar, so I was expecting, you know, one of those John Falk shirts from, you know, back from the early '80s. So I thought I would try to dress up a little bit, but you know, no.
Hey, Denny, real quick. Speaking of shirts. It's not by accident that Jerry is rocking the Rose Bowl shirt from 1980 or 81 because he knows I wasn't on the team then. I was still in high school. So Jerry is rocking the Big Ten Rose Bowl championship 40-year-old shirt, or was that a fresh one, Jerry?
No, that was a reunion shirt. Thank you, Scar. I don't have my same Johnny Falks like you do, but that's another issue.
Very good.
Yeah, here's another issue as well. Don wondering if anybody's worried about Bryce Underwood going out to Colorado for an official visit. And Scar, that gets us to some film work that we could put in with Jerry here. It would be stupid not to at least play a little bit of video. Bryce Underwood going out to watch Colorado. I'll answer that question first, and we can get into the video. Of course, you guys can say anything you want about it, but Bryce Underwood, every school in the country is going to try everything they can to attract Bryce Underwood. Michigan and LSU seem to be in the lead right now, but Coach Prime, after week 1 and blowing up, I think that if you're a Michigan football fan, you need to put on your big boy recruiting pants, because every week there's going to be somebody taking a run or some kind of story out there. That's the way I look at it. I mean, like, you got a highly touted player. Everybody in the country every week is going to do everything they can to get in there. So, yeah, worried about it. I would be worried about Bryce Underwood until he commits and, you know, to Michigan. I think there would be a little bit of worry about that. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts. You want to get right into the video?
Well, Danny, I got the video up. Maybe we can talk as I'm showing a little bit of video. Well, okay, real quick, I'll give you my thoughts. I mean, about him.
Nice picture, Scar.
Anyway, listen, the kid's the top kid in the country. And he's right down the street from Ann Arbor. He knows that Jim Harbaugh played 15 years at the position in the NFL at the highest level, and Deion's building a program. And I don't know that you worry about it. You present the best you can, and and hope that, Mike Hart and Sharon Moore and all these Michigan guys that we got on the staff and we sell Michigan academically, NIL, championships, and we can close the deal on them.
Yeah, what else could you possibly do? This telestration, the scar of the telestrator, is brought to you by Quick Cut Video and Analytics. And it's great to have Jerry here with us as we go through. Scar, can you see that button?
Yeah, I can see it. You guys ready to roll?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here we go. Mobility, athletic. Take a quick look. This is the top kid in the country, right down the street from you. You see the ability to move. I mean, you saw last night Mahomes. What's the big difference between him, and our quarterback is the ability to move, touch, height to see. He's tall. Look what he does here. He's got the height, and he can see over the line. How important that is. So I tell you, the guy that put this video together, obviously, he touches on a lot of things that are important. Fast, makes guys miss. We want guys that can move. Jerry, I played defense. I know how difficult it is to deal with guys that can move. Any thoughts on what we're seeing so far from this kid?
Well, first of all, we played around with the prompter a little bit yesterday, and I made a comment that when JJ hit that corner pass, and I said, this is why every top-ranked quarterback in the country should consider Michigan. We got the best quarterback coach in the country, in my opinion. And I think he's done a world of good for JJ, and I think he's going to do a world of good for any quarterback that comes to Michigan. And I think this young man right down the street, Belleville, can take full advantage of that. I think he should take full advantage of that. He's going to have the best quarterback coach in the country, and he's going to learn a lot. And he's going to learn little subtle things, how to drop those eyes on this and come back here, like JJ did in the game last week. Here, this pass right here, I think this is a run pass, and I actually think this young man makes the wrong read, but his arm strength is so strong, he zips it right behind the linebackers. Those linebackers are dropping, which would indicate a run on that run pass, and yet he still threads that ball in there.
Yeah, good program. He's coached well in high school. We'll, we're going to put the full court press on him, Danny. That's all. I just want to take a quick look at him and get Jerry and I up and running with this video here, and so we can he and I will be on Monday breaking down the Michigan game, and so back to with us. But just wanted to go through that so we're up and ready to roll for Monday. But yeah, hey, Danny, we will put it on hard for him, everything. We will have the NIL people up and running. Coach Harbaugh's background as a quarterback, and he will get the Sharon Moore, Michael Hart, and Jerry. When you go on a recruiting trip, I think this is something that's people don't understand so much. When you go on a recruiting trip, it isn't just you and the head coach or just you and your position coach. You're meeting the whole crew, man. You're meeting every assistant coach. You're meeting the strength coach. You're meeting the secretary. You're meeting janitors, and you're meeting everybody. And you're soaking all that in, saying, do I want to be a part of this? Do I want to be a part of this culture?
I remember when I was being recruited, and Bob Thornblade was there, and he said Diorio, and I said, yeah. He goes, I rooted for Diorios. Right there, I knew this guy. I got to consider this place. This place got some humor. Okay, I got to consider this place. Okay. The other thing, this NIL, I think Michigan can be in a great position to utilize this NIL. We have, if not the biggest, one of the biggest alumni organizations in the country. And I think there's plenty of money in the coffers at Michigan. And I think we've done a phenomenal job with the NIL by rewarding players that have produced for Michigan. And I think that's that's the secret, making sure that the guys that are producing are getting the NIL and keep producing, so the younger guys can see that and understand that they're going to get their NIL.
All right, guys, we look forward to talking with you again. I don't know. I have the slate of games for tomorrow. If you guys want to take a parting shot, I know you guys will be watching Michigan and UNLV at a 3:39 kick. Any of these other games or anything else appealing to you, Scar? Go ahead. You like watching college?
Yeah, real quick, Danny, before I forget this, I'm going to go tonight to see St. Clair Shores Lakeview play Roseville. Roseville has some kids that are getting recruited, so I'm going to take a good look at some of those guys. They've got some kids over at Roseville. Coaches got some players. The games I'm looking at obviously Nebraska. I'm looking at the people Michigan's going to play. I'm going to take a close look at Nebraska, Colorado.
Yeah.
I like the under in that game. I think Nebraska's not going to score many points. They're going to try to, slow that game down and use some clock. And Washington, Wisconsin is a big game there. I want Washington State, Wisconsin. And Purdue, Virginia Tech. I want to see if Purdue can get it going. Big Ten teams, man. And Illinois and Kansas. So I want to see it's the Big Ten teams. That's a tough challenge tonight, Illinois and Kansas. That's what I'm looking at.
Jerry, do you watch other games besides Michigan?
Well, I'm going to give a little shout out to my son. He's a graduate assistant at Western Michigan. I'm going to be interested in see how they do against Syracuse tomorrow. I think that's going to answer a lot of questions in the MAC because you saw Toledo last week, and if Western can pull up an upset again at Syracuse, there's some MAC football that's going to be exciting to watch this year. Other than that, obviously Nebraska, Colorado, going to be interesting to see his home opener.
I love it, guys. Can't wait to talk with you again Monday. Some film work. If you guys want to come back, great job, Jerry. Nice to see you, Scar. Always a great job. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll talk with you on Monday.
All right, Danny, real quick. My sign off is go blue. So, Jarrett, you got to come up with something a little more original. What's it going to be, Coach?
Go Lions?
No.
Can't do that?
Think about it. Come back with something better on Monday. All right, fellas, go blue. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Stay with us here if you're out there. It's Jerry Diorio and Scar with us as we continue on, and we will look. You guys, I'll take some questions from the people here if you want to get in. First, I want to tell you that one day we'll all have to get out and have some hot dogs out at the Reno's hot dog stand and catering. Come on out there, and you got to get the Detroiter. And stay tuned. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook to find out where they'll be next because they are all around Southeast Michigan. And we'll see you out there one time. Good stuff there. Good stuff from the guys. We'll see where the people are at. Antoine suggesting go Mays. I think having your own wrinkle is fine, but go blue works. Go blue works for Michigan pretty well. I see it a lot on here. And it works well, go A's and blue, anything else. It all works. A Wolverine fan saying, hey, hail to the victors. I can see that too. Some suggestions there for Jerry. And I see it. Richard, I got to pick some games. He's saying Nebraska is an upset waiting to happen. I don't know. It's tough. I know that Richard says he also doesn't like predicting games and everything. So it's tough when you start looking at the menu. Where they're playing, how they played last week. Of course, it's going to influence you. Do you get too influenced about what happens in week one? Well, it's the only thing that we have to go on. So you have to be a little bit influenced and look at the coaches and, how things went down. So, that's it when it comes down to it. I'll just go back and give you my thoughts here again for this game tomorrow. And if you have any points or questions we can talk about, go ahead. But this is a Michigan team who has designs on winning the Big Ten again, going to the college football playoff, and even taking an additional step. And, is it going to matter if the offensive line looks a little clunky tomorrow? Yeah, I don't know. How many times you go through if you play on a team and you hear coaches say this, you'd love to have a great walkthrough. You'd love to have a great practice on your final real practice, and then you feel good about the walk-ins. But How many times do you hear coaches say, well, honestly, we didn't look all that good in practice. And then we came out and played a great game. In baseball, a lot of times when you have a pitcher and they talk about, well, honestly, I heard Verlander say this. I think about all of his no-hitters. Like, yeah, I just didn't feel good in my bullpen, before. So, whether or not it matters against a team that you're going to beat, yeah, you'd like to see a little bit of that with the offensive line. If I'm going to put something that's going to be number one for me to see them blowing, UNLV off the ball, yeah, that would be it. You'd like to see everybody be really crisp and sharp, and the other team not to score any points and Michigan to score 50 and then get everybody else in there, and everybody be like, okay, this is it, championship, ready to go, lock it in. We know that doesn't happen. Last week when there was no sacks and then some people were worried about that, I had no worry about that. To me, the defense looked fabulous. I mean, they were getting pressure on the quarterback. Well, they put a little drive. If you're going to be upset, I'm not saying anybody is. I'm just saying that people pointed out, I want to see some sacks. Yeah, sure, you want to see some sacks, but they were getting the ball out pretty quick. I thought the defense was excellent last week. And then offensively, was I worried that Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards, both didn't have 150 yards? Not really. I wanted to see Blake look like he could cut and have that speed. And guess what? I'm going to check that box. When I put that, and I don't know if everybody saw Wednesday's show, but Blake Corum put it on his Instagram where the Next Gen Stats or somebody like that, they have the ability to see what your acceleration is and just what your top end speed is when you're out there on the field. And they recorded Corum recorded a 21-1 on that one run that he had. I believe it was the long run that he went for, where he had a 21-yard run and a 37-yard run, I think on the 37-yarder. Well, if you look at the Next Gen Stats at top speeds for running backs last year, Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, and Tony Pollard, that's how fast they went. He ran as fast, Blake Corum, in game one as any NFL running back did last year. I'll put a check mark next to his speed. He also had some of those jump cuts. I'm going to put a check mark. I'm not worried about Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. You guys and others were worried about Michigan's average wide receivers. And I said, you guys I thought there was a little bit of underselling. And those guys came out and flexed their muscles in week one. I feel pretty good about that. Would I like to see some of the guys behind the guys that we know, Roman Wilson, Kojo, and Colston Loveland? Sure. You'd like to see a little bit of that, but it's going to be the offensive line for me, the number one thing. Just seeing him go out there, and yeah, I like to see him when you flex your muscle. I've said that a few times, but when you see an offensive line dominating a game, pushing guys around, that you can put anybody back there and they're going to be able to go out and make some plays. Let's see where the people are at here. Antoine, who is always good to see. He says, if Underwood's silly enough to go to LSU with Brian Kelly, with no coaching skills, that would be a dumb decision. That man knows how to give away games just like Franklin at Penn State. Yeah, look, the world is your oyster if you're Bryce Underwood. Michigan has a good relationship with not only Bryce, but also his parents, and he being right down the road. That is really important. Michigan does provide everything that any team out there that is going to get in on him has. And then you get to the last piece, and that is name, image, and likeness. All right, if JJ can show him, what he's doing and what they're providing and what he can get and how much it can be worth, how quickly he wants some of that money, those are the kind of things. Not everybody's out there talking about their NIL deals because, you can't say, if you're Michigan, you can't say, look, JJ McCarthy's making $2 million. You can have that right away. That's what you can't say. And yet you can show, hey, this is what I know. It's still a little bit of a weird thing how it goes down, the signing bonuses and what you can say. But it's pretty close where Michigan is at to saying, look, if you come to Michigan, we promise, without promising, that you can make 7 figures. How quickly and how much that you can say, like how fast that you're going to be able to get involved, how they nuance that. Look, you're smart. You're probably, have seen it out there. How Michigan is phrasing what they talk about with Bryce Underwood, whether you want to worry about that or not. I understand when it gets late in the game, the price goes up and, the price for Bryce, who knows what it's going to end up being. So you just got to hang in there. This is, I think is his grandmother's birthday that's on January the 6th, where he has decided that that's when he's going to make his announcement. You can't freak out. What are we waiting to January 6th? It's going to be a tough one. It could be a rough ride. Let's just see how it ends up. I would like all of the top players to just say, I'm going to Michigan. I'm not visiting anywhere else because Michigan's the one. But, that doesn't happen like that. And we're going to end up finding out how it ends up working there. And yeah, I would guess that whatever is allowed with calls and texts and visits and anything else, that Michigan is doing it. I mean, it's priority number 1, right, Richard? So what else can we do? Mark wanting to know if that was the first game for the Michigan quarterback coach. If so, big impact. Yeah, I would say that Kirk Campbell, who was he was on the staff, but he wasn't one of the coaches, like he wasn't a quarterback's coach. That's what Matt Weiss was, along with being the co-offensive coordinator. And so Campbell was elevated into that role. And then in his first game, he got elevated as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator. Huge jump in there for Coach Campbell. But, the way things work in coaching, and you see it, like if you're young and you're showing that you can do the job, it's attractive. There's nothing against older people. They've got the experience. They can do it too. But there is an attraction to having a young, like you feel like, I don't know, whatever it is, with they're young and they're just on top of it, I don't know. So he does seem to be that way. And good for him and good for Michigan, not for everyone, young and old, but, so let's go. One more from AJ, who's talking about Underwood coming to Michigan. He says he better come and get that QB training. Kirk Campbell might be a genius. There he is. He's got JJ reading passes and actually anticipating throws before the route ends. Well, you get some of that credit, don't you, if you're Kirk Campbell and you're J.J. McCarthy after week 1. Yeah, I'm not here to downplay his effect or impact on J.J. McCarthy. It goes on your resume, doesn't it? J.J. McCarthy ends up being, I don't know, Caleb Williams doesn't want to go to the Cardinals or whatever else. He's playing the game. He's trying to pull an Eli, or he's going to, maybe the number 1 pick. That goes on your resume pretty quickly. All right, so we'll take a few more here. Let's get into Andres' thoughts. Nebraska is a big red doormat. Yeah, I like Matt Rule as a coach. And in fact, Blink had mentioned my shirt that I was wearing. And the 2 radio jobs that I had, nobody ever said anything about what I wore in Detroit. I'm on the radio. Sometimes they shot a video. I was like, critique me on what's coming through the mic, how I sound. If I'm saying too much or duh or I mean, whatever, which I do. I just end up, spitting it out. Who cares how I look? When I worked in Ann Arbor, I had a boss who was like, he was really big on dressing up. So I don't know. It was always one of those things like, I don't care about that. But then I saw Matt Rule, who looked kind of like a bum. Like I said, I don't mind, get it done. But he was always wearing the cutoff sleeves and everything. And he was unshaved. He looked unkept. Who cared how he looked? He was a football coach. But then he walked up at Big Ten Media Days and, he had his hair cut. And I thought, never seen anybody look more professional from where he was how things were going to how they were now, I was impressed by how he looked. Now, look, Matt Patricia, the former Detroit Lions coach, he looked like a total bum with what he was wearing to the side. He had his pencil stuck in there, his beard, his gigantic beard. He didn't look like he even combed his hair. And then he came out for his first news conference. He had this brown suit on, and he looked great. But so, I don't know. The appearance of Matt Rule, I think he's a good football coach, but it's going to take a little time to get everything going. Colorado, this is the game. A little spoiler for me in the show I'm going to do at 4:30 right on this feed that you're watching here. I'm picking Colorado as one of my best bets. I think that line's going to be more than 3. You want to go against Coach Prime and his son at quarterback who put up 500 yards and the next Charles Woodson, who that's what Hunter looks like out there, the two-way star. Go ahead. Go on with Nebraska and do that. The game is in Boulder. I'm putting everything I have on Colorado. Now, look, I took them last week plus 20 and a half, and I feel pretty good about it. Don't put everything you have on it. Put it, a little bit with what's going on there. We'll see you at 4:30 if you like a live broadcast and, some picks and everything like that. Mark's just talking about beating Army. All right. We'll take a few more here down the line just to see where the people are at. Mark says that's all. Mark is thrilled with the backs in the O-line. We're the weakest. QB, wide receiver, DBs all look natty level. Not too much of a argument from me. Here's Jason. Good to see him. How about those Lions? We talked about the Lions at the beginning of the show. Full credit for them. I saw that the fans were going after, like the Lion fans is part of when you're a fan. When you're so excited after the game and then, you win the ball game 21-20 and Mike Tirico says, well, you got to put that asterisk next to this one without Kelsey and without Jones. But what a nice win. And the Lion fans, boy, they sharpen their knives and that Tirico, how dare you? Remember this. I hope the Lions win all of their games and I want them to win the Super Bowl and I want them to win everything in between, all of it. As this thing goes along, people are not used to success with the Lions. This is nothing with Tirico. He could have phrased that better. Could he have said, I just saw the little clip. I went to bed pretty quick last night after the Lions won it, but could he have said the asterisk in a different way and then right after, but said, hey, but give full credit to the Lions. Lion fans, it's going to be part of this ride. You are going to be disrespected along the way because this is what it's been for the last 40 years. Everybody's used to you failing. If the Lions ever get to the Super Bowl, one of the main storylines is going to be how the Lions have been disrespected. And the fans, it's going to be a rallying point for the fans. Everybody doesn't believe in it. It is going to be out of control. It's part of fandom, but it's also a part of Detroit sports. I don't think it has anything. Michigan is able to deal with it, but we do it with Harbaugh as well. Why is everybody coming after Harbaugh? All right. Detroit sports fans, the Red Wings from 95 to 2010, the run that they made with all of the appearances in the finals and the 4 cups and everything, it was like a dynasty. It was a dynasty. Pretty, however it was just an incredible run. And yet, Gary Bettman in the league, they were pushing Sidney Crosby as their next star, and the Red Wings were more of a group. Nick Lidstrom with their final cup was the captain, and he wasn't like, he was not a Canadian. He was a Swedish player, and wasn't one that you'd say, hey, this is the league, the face of the league. And so the Penguins were, put out there when the Red Wings won their Stanley Cup, and the Detroit sports fans were furious with the NHL. It was so much of a strong, not only a hatred of Crosby, not only a hatred of Gary Bettman, but just the audacity to not give the Red Wings their full marks. It was fully there for the Red Wings. I've seen it with the Pistons. Now, nobody thought the Pistons were going to win in 2004. Nobody. They were playing the Lakers. It was nice for them to get there, but then they beat them in the 5-game sweep. And Greg Kelser, picked the Pistons. A few other people, but not most people were not picking. And then so that was the ultimate disrespect. And then they got it. That's how it works. With baseball, it's the coast. It's always the Yankees. It's the Dodgers and everything. We do have a little bit of that complex. So it's all. But if the Lions, it's always going to be there. I've seen it. All right, let's get a couple more in here while we still have some time. Got all day. Did you see anyone other than Grant create pressure up the middle? 1, good. 2 is better. Jenkins at the one point was chasing the quarterback, back like 50 yards. I saw Rayshon Benny look like he was tracking the quarterback pretty good. Graham was pretty stout in the early going. I saw a lot of pressure inside, enough where I liked what I saw. I saw some pressure from the defensive ends. I don't know how much we're nitpicking. We can go back and watch some of those drives. Like Keon Sabat was pretty close, but he ended up getting his arm in that first one. Same thing with Sainra still when he got in there and the guy ended up dropping. He got his hand in there. I'm not going to nitpick. I thought the pressure was there, and overall, I liked what I saw. What else would I want to see from the defense this week? More turnovers? Just give up nothing on the ground. Give up nothing through the air. Shut them out. That's it. Feel pretty good. Jason is late, hitting on all of our topics about Bryce Underwood apparently visiting Colorado. Get your big boy pants on, Jason. You're talking about the number 1 player in the country. Wouldn't you go see Coach Prime too after what happened last week? So that's it. A lot of thoughts on Underwood. He'd be running for his life in Colorado. Is Michigan the best place for Bryce Underwood? Yeah, it is. Why is it the best place for him? Well, he's a local product. That's why. And everything that you want from now that we've seen, J.J. McCarthy out there. If this was pre-J.J. McCarthy, you could use the argument like, well, what about developing the quarterbacks? What about Harbaugh being able to do that? And what about Michigan, playing for the national championship? Well, they've checked all of those boxes. And so the other ones that Michigan always used about the stadium and the uniforms and the education, those have always been there. Now they have everything. The last little piece to me for Underwood is the NIL and however that works. Now, so sitting around and saying, not important to him, none of that matters. It matters how Michigan is going to be able to compete with that. So Michigan has everything going for it. I don't know about that last piece. If he ends up going somewhere else, hey, it happens. Good luck to him. I hope that doesn't happen, but Michigan has everything out there. He was never coming to Michigan if Bryce Underwood doesn't come to Michigan. And sometimes guys want to experience something else. Like you've been in Southeast Michigan your whole life, whatever. So it can happen. I'm not trying to cushion the blow or anything else. I think Michigan leads for them, or they're right there neck and neck with LSU. It looks like they're on tap to have a fabulous season. Everything is going well for Michigan. They have everything out there. Now, that's all well and good. It's kind of like, talking with the best looking girl when you were in high school and you got the nerve and you got everything. You look pretty good. You got great prospects. You got a nice car. You got everything. And you go up to her and you say, hey, you want to go to the dance? And then she's like, acts like she couldn't hear you. And, and then she laughs at you. And then she goes to somebody else. What are you going to do? You go home and, your parents say, hey, you got everything. I don't know. Michigan's pretty good looking. Michigan looks really good. You know, I don't know. Bad analogy. Bad analogy. So the Moose, because Underwood is going to be there, root for Nebraska? But what about Michigan having to go to Nebraska? Don't you, you want their confidence tamped down? I don't know. I don't think that matters. Long way to go for the Underwood decision. Wolverine fan 2 says, a million rumors. Buckle up. Yeah, buckle up. I am buckled up. Well, he's visiting. Truth be told, it's hard to put yourself in position of being the number one quarterback, like right now, however old you are, but I'm going to try to do it. I'm the best quarterback in the state of Michigan, the top-rated quarterback in the country. I live right down the street from Michigan. I'm going to Michigan, honestly. But would I go out and visit Coach Prime? Yeah. And I'd go visit you. I'd go visit USC. I see LSU. I see you. Go visit one of the Florida teams when it gets kind of cold. Go down and see the U. Say, I would like to go out on a yacht. People say they don't like to be wine and dine. It seems like everybody likes to get wine and dine a little bit, even if you're not, everybody likes to have attention. He's got it. But then ultimately I'd go to Michigan. So that's what I would do. Couple more here. Shedeur Sanders better than JJ McCarthy. Like, if you want to play the games out on the internet and Twitter and back and forth with rival fan bases, that's going to be a fun thing to do, and have some fun with Coach Prime and JJ. I saw there was a lot of, what do they call it? Penn State Twitter. That's what they call it. So a bunch of Penn State fans that are on Twitter. Penn State Twitter was, saying, Aller had a better game than JJ McCarthy's ever had. And the Michigan fans are like, you guys really think that Aller is better than McCarthy already? And back and forth, you play it out. That's going to be part of fandom. Does anybody really think after one game, Shedeur Sanders, if you gave a 100 coaches the choice, which quarterback that you want? I think Prime might take his son. Who else? You always have maybe one or other two or something, but I think 97% of the coaches would take McCarthy. A one-game sample? All right, you want to go back to, when he was playing last year? Okay, let's go back and watch McCarthy last year. Everyone is taking McCarthy. But, those are fun things. These are fun things to talk about. Let's not get bent out of shape about it. Now, would I get bent out of shape if BN said that he didn't like my shirt? No, I wouldn't. But complimenting my shirt and saying that it looks nice? Well, thanks. Thank you. Dion once said, if you look good, you feel good. Look at that. How about that? People are goofy. I think it's the TCU team from last year. It's the openers. What are we going to think? The quarterback that TCU has actually beat out Max Duggan last year. And, the old coach there was saying how he thought that his receivers, I know they lost Quentin Johnston, to the Chargers in the first round. He was saying that this was a more talented group overall. So you see that and you're like, hey, I think they're going to be able to handle Coach Prime. I'm going to say I'm on the bandwagon after what I was. It deserves the requisite amount of respect. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go overboard. Oh, Shedeur Sanders, he's your Heisman winner after week 1. So's Hunter. They got 2 Heisman. Well, they do. They've got 2 Heisman Trophy candidates after game 1. There's 11 more games. That's even, there's such thing as a September Heisman. Michigan might lead the college football world in September Heismans, go off in the non-conference. But this is what is something that's hard to do because we have all been primed by people that are in positions like me right now to have hot takes and to have instant reaction. Nothing wrong with hot takes or instant reaction, or have overreaction. It's Overreaction Monday. It's what everybody like that does shows like this, they pound at it. Hot takes, Overreaction Monday. So there's going to be some overreaction on Colorado, but let's not take the overreactors and then underreact to what they did. Coach Prime is a hit. Let's see what he does for an encore, but fabulous. Full marks. What a great job by those two guys. Let's see what they do now. It's must watch. It's appointment TV now. I'm glad the game is not at the same time of Michigan. I can guarantee you that tomorrow I am going to be sitting there watching Colorado and Nebraska. I will flip back and forth to Notre Dame and NC State. What else will I be doing? Well, at 3:30, the window is closed because it's just Michigan and UNLV. And in fact, I will take my 2 TV setup, and on my second TV, I'll get the game going, and then I'll hit pause for 10 seconds. And then I'll turn down the volume and I'll hit play. And I'll have a replay. Then I will have a replay for every Michigan play. I'll watch it live. And then while they're getting ready, I'll look over. Hey, there's the play. The 10-second replay. I know it's a clever move that some of you have been able to master as well. It's the way to go in terms of being able to, and then you rewatch the game later, but you're able to see the replay right there. I like it. You don't have to depend on the network to be able to give you that replay. At 7 o'clock, I'm all excited for Texas and Alabama, but the ESPN, Comcast, whatever it is, battle makes me pine for the olden days when I could, like last year when I would pay my $150, $80 or whatever it is for my cable bill, but I could watch all of the games. It was the great time in sports. Oh, if there was going to be a top 25 matchup, certainly, number 3 and a number 11, it was going to be available to me. Well, it's not tomorrow. I'm disappointed in it, but I am pivoting. There's nothing else I can do. What am I going to do? Fire off the mean letters, cancel Comcast, everything else? No, I'm going to watch Oregon and Texas Tech and Wisconsin and Washington State. And I'm going to enjoy it. And when they have the live look in, will I be a little bit disappointed? Yes. You don't have to be sipping Kool-Aid, Moose. So that's all. I think I've gone over that part. All right, we'll take a few more here. Todd is not drinking the Lions Kool-Aid yet, but it actually looks like actual football now. Well, I would, they mean a lot of different things. Actually, if you're drinking the Kool-Aid, it means that you like, the Jim Jones, and that you will do what anybody says ever about your team, and you'll kill yourself with some Kool-Aid. But what it really means is that you like your team so much that you don't care what anybody else is saying about them, and that you just pound the Kool-Aid. I can understand about not pounding any Kool-Aid either, because the Kool-Aid has been Lions liquor, which makes people really mean when the thing goes sideways. It was an excellent victory, being able to go on the road. It's okay to say that they didn't have Kelsey and Chris Jones. Those are two great players. Chris Jones is a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. Travis Kelsey is the greatest receiving tight end ever. I'll say that he's better than Gronk. He's the greatest tight end ever. Chris Jones is a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. That helped, but it doesn't take away from a victory. Now, if you want to get mad at people that, mention those two, which some people do, I don't know, you just give your opinion on it and go that way. Excellent win. I would say more like, look at Hutchinson. he looks like, he had an excellent rookie season. He looks like he is a difference maker. He was the best player on the field. And now you have the greatest quarterback, behind Brady and on this way trying to be one of the greatest. He's certainly already in the top 10. And Patrick Mahomes. Great job. That's what I would be looking at it. Let's go a little bit more. Why wouldn't you grind with the dirt, with the small offensive lineman? I don't understand that. Do you believe in the Lions now? Make fun of Coach Prime all you want. Somebody asked, why would I go to Colorado? 5 years ago, I went to Boulder. And getting a scholarship from Colorado, if you appreciate things like scenery and the crisp air of Boulder, and you look around at that stadium, I could see how people could get bowled over by the Buffaloes. It is as beautiful as you can imagine. It was like 95. I went down into I don't know what river runs through Boulder, Colorado River, and went into the water there. It was beautiful. I can understand it. That's it. Couple more here. OT's talking some hockey. Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg should have been the face of the NHL at the time. Yeah, well, remember this. Pavel is Russian. Henrik Zetterberg is Swedish. Gary Bettman is putting on certainly Canadians or Americans. Whether you like that or not, that happens. I have a friend who's huge into baseball cards and memorabilia. I remember talking to him last year, and I said, man, Shohei Ohtani, he's got to be killing the card market. He said, if his name was Sam Smith and he was from Detroit, he would. It's just baseball having an American player is a really big deal. Ronald Acuna, who is going to win like Mookie Betts, like those guys, if somehow Acuna was pitching and you had, that going on, that would be different in terms of, fandom. It's there. January the 6th, Don is absolutely right about that. It'd be nice for January the 6th to be known as something very positive and a commitment to Michigan. Michigan is apparently Underwood, according to the most liked Michigan's performance in game one. Are we calling up Bryce Underwood every game? Hey, Bryce, what did you think of Michigan? All right. I don't mind hanging. We hang on everybody's words. Let's do it. Hey, like that. We could talk about Underwood every show. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Beautiful out there. Prime flipping guys. Corum won the October Heisman. He almost won the November Heisman, too. A good show sign off. I'm Mays out of here. Amazing performance. We'll leave those for the guys. I always said, it doesn't matter. You can like Michigan. You could have been born in Florida and you can be a Michigan fan. It doesn't matter to me, but guys that went to Michigan, played at Michigan, their side off. I leave those Go Blues and hail to the victors and all of that for them. I do want everybody to have a great weekend. Enjoy the game. If you like handicapping, coming up at 4:30, Lucas Rymeek and myself will go over 9 games, 9 pieces of handicapping for you. That's coming your way at 4:30. And Sharpen the Edge right on this feed that you're watching right now. And then if you did not know, tomorrow after the game, Jim Scarcelli will join me, and we will talk about everything that we saw. Now, if you are going to watch games, which I completely understand after tomorrow, know that it is available to you at any time on the podcast, on YouTube. You want to know what others thought of Michigan? It's going to be available for you there all weekend. We'd love to see you live. You can put your comments in and be involved. That's fun. Or you can watch it at a later date. And if all of that doesn't happen, at Monday at 2 o'clock, we'll recap it all and be back here talking about the Maize and Blue against UNLV. Everybody, enjoy the weekend. I'll say that anybody who watches this and also served, with tomorrow being our appreciation for at Michigan for the military, I would say thank you for your sacrifice and your service. And we'll talk with you very soon. Goodbye.